Okay, you're looking to buy a home in Florida, but you need down payment assistance. Well, in this video, I'm going to cover a program that was just passed into law that could give you up to $25,000 towards your closing costs and down payment when buying a home in the great state of Florida. But stay to the end, I'm going to cover some of the bad things that this program has that you might not know about. Let's get into it. What's up, everyone? My name is Cameron Hodge. On this channel, I talk about living and making the move to Orlando, Florida, or just Florida in general, and I absolutely love it. I drop videos every Tuesday and Thursday, but while I love making these videos for you, helping you make the move to this great state and area of Orlando, what I love even more, being a licensed real estate agent here in the state of Florida, is helping you with making that move. So this number popping up below is how you can get a hold of me. Call, text, email, whatever you have to do. I have your back when moving to Orlando, Florida. Okay, getting into it. So yes, it's true. So it's called the Hometown Heroes Program, and this was just passed into law. I think it was about couple weeks ago now. And it provides down payment assistance for those heroes in our community that are doing the work that is so vital to all of us. So, this program is a great thing. I'm sure there are some people that don't even know about it. So if you're watching this is your first time hearing about it. So there are 50 professions that are listed out that are eligible for this program. Now, I'm not going to go into all of them right now. In the description below, I'm going to have two things for you to click on. One's going to be the professions that are allowed, and the second one is going to be income limits. And we'll cover what that means here in a little bit. So this program is meant, obviously, in rising inflation and crazy costs in the state, is helping those who matter most be able to get a home in this rising, crazy world that we all live in, especially as rates increase and people are just having a harder and harder time getting a home. So the goal of the program is obviously to help frontline workers. In this case, it's roughly going to be medical, dental, veterans, EMTs, 911 operators, nurses, things like that. So it's meant for those frontline workers, but there are also things for like licensed child care professionals, things like that. So there are some non-police and EMT medical fields that are thrown in there, like child care for sure, teachers as well. So if you are a teacher or you're moving to the state to teach, well, hey, this program is probably going to be for you then. So there's a lot of good and bad with the program. So we're going to start with the good things. So the good things are, yes, it is up to 5% of the purchase price or $25,000 of the down payment. So that funds can be used towards anything. It can be used towards closing costs. It can be used towards a down payment. The goal is to, depending what price point you're looking at, it could potentially cover all of it, making a zero down. So hey, if you're not a veteran, fantastic. Now, veterans, obviously, you get the VA loan. So the point of this one, if you are doing zero down, is going to be, well, if you do have to pay a funding fee, it covers that. Or it's going to, in this case, help you cover those closing costs. Now, what I'm going to tell you is that this program does have limits. So, every county, and one of the sheets of that I have linked down below is going to cover that. Every county has its own limits or income. So it has a limit on how expensive of a home you can get, and it has a limit on, what your income level is. And it's not just personal income, it's household income. So whatever your household income is, that's gonna be the limit. Now, I will tell you for Florida, like the income limit, let's say for Orange County, right here in Orlando. It's the biggest county encompassing Orlando, and it's Orange County. In Orange County, you can get, so it depends on which loan product you're using, but so say you're using an FHA loan. FHA loan, you are capped at a home price of $420,000. So that means you can't go above that. If you're using this program, you have to stay at or below that price point. But if you are going to be doing a conventional, like 5% down, the conventional, or a VA loan, you are eligible up to $620,000 for a home, which is a lot of homes. So I think most that are probably looking for assistance are not going to be going that high, but you do have the ability to if you qualify that high. Now, it must be known that even though you can go that high, just because you are eligible for the program does not mean you're eligible to go that high. Like, you're still going to have to qualify for a loan. So your income, your debt ratio, all of that still matters. So it's still a normal like mortgage that you're applying for, but this program is an extra set of rules that you have to qualify for if you want to do it. So now talking about income limits. So the income limits in Orange County is about just over $124,000 a year household income. So that means you can't make more of that. You have to earn less. It's a way of capping at, now that's like pretty much what that is like the highest end of middle class. Anything above that is considered upper class. So that's why they have that income limit in place, because they're trying to set it towards middle class and lower class Americans who need that support when buying a home. So I think it's a great thing. And those limits are there in place for a reason, because like if you remember, like just during COVID, like the PPE loans, like for the small businesses and stuff, like bigger companies were just scooping it up because they didn't have limits and stuff like that. That's why they put limits when it comes to these programs, is so that way only certain individuals, and most individuals that are on this area they're probably not making more than that per year. Now, some doctors might not be eligible, so that is something they have to be aware of, is that like technically if their household income is above that, which is probably very solid that it might be, then you probably won't qualify for this. But that's also why they include EMTs, 911 operators. They're including the people that are actually doing a lot of the lower income work, and they deserve this program very much. So I think it's a cool thing that they have that in place. But like I said, so even though you qualify for the program, you might not qualify for the highest income limit, but obviously it includes everything. It could be like from $5 all the way up to $620,000. So that's when you're eligible for the program. Now, I need to explain like what happens, right? Like where does this money come from? This money comes from a budget that was already set. So this money is already set aside just for this program. The next question is, I don't know if people always realize this, is heading into some of the negatives of the program. It's like, well, Cameron, what's wrong with the program? Like, there's no way, because you're probably looking at me right now, there's no way. Money is not free. Nothing's free. Like, what's the catch? What is the negatives when it comes to this program? Great question. So I'm going to just probably one of the biggest ones up front. And the thing is like, one, you might not be eligible. So that is always something that's a negative, right? Like it's another set of rules you have to apply for. You have to go through, make sure you get approved. Obviously, reach out to me if you want to get approved. Me and my lender on our team, Brian, we work with this exclusively. And these individuals are people we love to help every single day. I'm a veteran myself. I love helping those that are also frontline workers, and they deserve getting help when it comes to buying a home. Because yeah, sure, like my profession is real estate agent, but this stuff's crazy. It's crazy how expensive things are getting. And some people in my profession are like, well, that's just how it is. Like you have to deal with it. I'm like, that's true. But it's still really obnoxious that we have people that are working, doing a lot of the hard jobs, making it happen, and they don't get the option to get into a home. So this program is a step forward in the right direction, I think. But where's that money come from? It comes from that money that was set aside. But then what happens to you, right? Let's say you qualify. Let's say you qualify for the full amount, $25,000. What happens with it? Like, what's the catch? Well, here's the catch. So if you didn't know, you can have multiple mortgages on a home. So your primary is always going to be the main bank loan. So let's say you got this. Let's say you're using a conventional VA loan. You got $620,000. You used the max of that $25,000 to help cover most down payment and closing costs. You definitely would have to come up with some extra yourself, but you get that program, $620,000. That first mortgage is considered paying for that loan on the home. Now the program will put it as a second mortgage. And no, that does not mean you're paying monthly for another fee. The money is a zero interest loan, which means it just sits there. So when you buy that house, let's say it's worth exactly $620,000. Well, you subtract your down payment, of course, but then you have that second mortgage of that $25,000. Now you don't have to pay that until certain things happen, but that money just sits there. So, hey, if you're living in your home for 30 years, they're fantastic. You technically, the way I understand the rules, would never have to pay it back. Obviously, I'm not a professional on this thing. I'm just telling you what I have read and understood in the program. So it might sit there. Now, when do you have to pay it back? Well, let's say in 3 years, you're like, you know what? I want to sell my home. Well, you're going to have to pay off that mortgage in order to sell it. You have to pay off your first mortgage and that $25,000. So that is a negative. Now, I think and you also have to do it. Let's say you own it, and so you want to transfer it to your kids, or you want to transfer it to someone else. If you transfer title on that property, you have to pay it then as well. So if you're not keeping your name on that property, it becomes due. Now, which potentially raises my issue, because let's say you buy the home personally as yourself and you want to transfer it into a trust. Technically, that could be considered transferring ownership. So always talk to like an attorney or someone specialized in that, so that way you can understand if you will have to pay that if you do switch it to put it under a trust. Now, obviously, if you're buying in a trust initially, like you probably will be good in that respect. But it's always good to make sure you talk to those professionals, and I can help you connect with those. But when's the other time it becomes due is if you refinance your property. Now, this is the one that I think really catches me off guard here because it makes sense. Like if you're refinancing your property, they're assuming you have some equity, and you're gonna have to pay off that amount, hopefully with equity that you have in the home. The issue is like interest rates right now. Oh, I didn't mention as well that you will probably you don't have to pay points, no extra fees with this program. They make sure to make that in the detail of the program. And the program says you will get below market rates for all loan products that use this. So make sure you reach out. We can have a conversation with the lender, and we can have that conversation about, what you could expect to pay in interest rates under this program. Now, lost my train of thought there. Yeah, back to it. So look at right now, let's say you're paying like a 5.8% interest rate. So they're talking about raising rates again this month in June 2022. It's like, okay, well, let's say you're paying a 5.8% interest rate. And let's say within the next year or two, it drops down to 4%. Well, obviously you're going to want to refinance to a lower rate, but then that becomes the issue. In my mind, is you're going to go refinance this, and then all of a sudden they're going to be like, boom, got to pay the government back for that 25 grand because now you want to refinance to a lower rate. And you're like, what the heck? Like, I don't have, because like maybe that's all you have in equity is 25 grand, right? Like with interest rates increasing, this crazy economy we don't know what's going to happen with home prices in the next 2 years. It's just, it's unknown. Do I think a crash is coming? No, I don't. My personal opinion, I do not. Like it's even when the crash happened in 2008, which is the worst one ever, home prices still, like the average 3-bed, 2-bath home only dropped like, it's the worst hit was like maybe 25%. So homes are still probably gonna be higher than they were in 2008. So relax. But that's still an issue is like, if that's all you have in equity, boom, your equity's gone. And now your refinance mortgage goes up 25 grand. Because you have to pay for that, unless you're paying out of pocket, of course, which is an option. But regardless, when you refinance, which I think all of us are going to do, right? Like I locked in on properties that are higher, that high interest rate. And now I'm like, oh, great. Like as soon as the opportunity takes it, like obviously I want that payment to be lower. And I think a lot of people are going to do the same. So that's one negative I see with the program is they're going to come in, they're going to do this, and they're going to be like, okay, I'm going to do this program and I'm going to get this mortgage. And now I want to refinance a year, 2 years down the road. Boom, we got to pay that 25 grand. Also, another negative is you buy a home, and let's say, like I said, 3 years, you want to sell it. That's $25,000 of your equity gone. You will not have it. Now, I have a couple opinions on this, so we're gonna wrap this up here with this. So, is this program a good thing? I think it is. I think it's a valuable program. If you want to get into a home, you want to own your home. You don't want some landlord telling you what to do. You're like, I want to own my own freaking home, Cameron. Gosh darn it. Then this is a good program. It makes sense. It covers it. For me, I get the second mortgage thing. Like nothing is free. There's always pros and cons to everything. And if you don't know whether this is the right program for you, reach out and I can help you. We're going to sit down. We'll have a 3-way conversation with my lender and we will have the conversation of if this makes sense or if you even qualify for the program. Now, it's important to note that yes, it is a negative because if you're not willing to take that looming second mortgage, that 25 grand over top of your head, sure, maybe it isn't. But you got to weigh out where you're at, right? Because if you don't have the money for a down payment, then you do have to understand that you are going to have to work up that money. Now, I think if you have 25 grand sitting in an account and you're like, well, I was going to put that money down anyways, then yeah, just do that. There's no reason to take extra debt if you don't have to. But at the same time, it's important to know that. Oh, also, if you ever go to change this from a primary residence to a rental, it will become due then as well, which again goes into the changing who's on title and things like that. So if you ever technically, yes, if you say you're like, oh, it's my primary house for a couple years and then I want to move back to where I'm from or I want to move into another house, well, it especially if you're buying another house, it's going to become known and they're going to be like, hey, you have to pay off this 25 grand before we can do this next property. Potentially. I'm going to tell you that there's also there's crazy things that happen in this world, but yes, you technically should. Once it becomes a rental, you will technically have to pay off that 25 grand in order to rent it out. And that's, again, if that's something that's a stress you don't want to deal with, then it's probably not a program for you. But I think if you are in a position to where like, yes, like that payment, like getting this assistance could get you into a home now, and you know you want to do it. You're like, I don't care what's going on in the world. I want to get into my own freaking house. Yes, I think it's a good program. So obviously there's a lot more nuances to it, but this is the general overview I wanted to give to you because like I feel like it's a good thing to talk about because a lot of people are going to be looking into this. Now, there are other programs, of course, that help for down payment assistance. This is just probably one of the best for these specific professions because it is a big deal. It is a large amount of money technically for a down payment assistance because if you're at a lower price point, especially like a starter home, this covers your entire down payment and closing costs potentially. So it's a great thing. And if you want to learn more about it, this number popping up below is how you can get a hold of me and the team. Call, text, email, whatever you have to do. I love helping you make the move to Orlando, and I love helping you find a way to get into a home because it's like all of us are not freaking money bags with money in our pockets. Some of us need help, and we need to make sure we have the right guidance when making that decision. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you massive value, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.